Greetings, students of the Force, and welcome to the channel. Today we put together a few of the unknown regions videos that we've produced here, explaining some of the various dark entities and powerful force-wielding foes that lie beyond the known galaxy, as well as why traveling to the unknown regions was so treacherous and nearly impossible. Hopefully you guys are liking these longer compilation videos, as you can put it on in the background and cook or work or whatever have you. As always, my friends, I hope you guys enjoy, and remember, be weary of the unknown. The Star Wars galaxy is home to some of the most fantastical and fascinating things. Many planets and star systems each hold their own mysteries to be explored, and while most of the galaxy is mapped out on star charts, there remains one facet of the galaxy that never seems to have been explored. This, of course, is the unknown regions. Nearly half of the Star Wars galaxy is unexplored, leaving the other half to remain nearly untouched by the Galactic Republic and uncolonized by most other species. This is due to the constantly changing hyperspace routes which stunt many attempts at exploration. However, opening and closing hyperlanes happen to be the least of one's worries when attempting to access unknown space. So stick with us today, curious spacefarers of the galaxy, as we lead you through the top 5 most dangerous things in the unknown regions. And hopefully by the end of this video, you too will understand the terror that lies beyond known space. Starting at number 5, we have what is known as the Summa Verminoth. Many of you might recognize the gargantuan creature as the beast within the Maw in Solo, a Star Wars story. Han Solo has been able to escape the beast with many tentacles by faking it out by launching the Millennium Falcon's escape pods into the Maw. Although this was a beast that had inhabited the Maelstrom and the surrounded Kessel Run, their species originated from the unknown regions. For those of you that don't know, they were massive creatures with many eyes and electrified tentacles that often fed on spacefaring ships due to their large size and appetite. Their beastie bulk nearly dwarfs that of an asteroid worm seen in A New Hope, with one specimen reaching the size of the first Death Star, with the one in Solo, a Star Wars story being considered relatively small for the species, because of the fact that it targeted large ships made it incredibly dangerous, and one of the most dangerous creatures that one could encounter in the unknown regions, as if one stumbled upon it so unluckily, it meant nearly certain death. At number 4 we have a dark side cult known as the Sorcerers of Rand. The Sorcerers of Rand, also known as the Randites, were a religious sect of beings which inhabited a place called the Nile Retreat. The Randites are something not often touched upon in Star Wars legends, despite them possibly becoming a very large threat to the wider galaxy in the future, though we get a clue as to who they are from Mother Talzin's chapter in the Book of the Sith. In the book, she says this: the most enigmatic of a new competitors are the Sorcerers of Rand, that claim kinship with the dark, which they view as the embodiment of decay and death. A true sorcerer is said to be able to use a psychic blast to eradicate an object or living being of the Force entirely. The Randites did not believe in the Force, light or dark, but actually subscribed to a power that they believed to be higher than the Force, a power which they called the Dark. This was their creed. Only power is real, and only real power is the power to destroy. Existence is fleeting. Destruction is eternal. For the Randites, destruction was the will of the universe. They called this the Way of the Dark. The Way of the Dark was the cornerstone of the Randites. They saw destruction as a permanent change in the structure of the universe. Through this destruction, a void was created, an absence of life. The void was the foundation of truth. They reveled in the pit of cosmic chaos, and they were able to access a wide variety of mysterious power, much like the Night Sisters of Dathomir. However, it seemed that the sorcerers might have been far more powerful. As stated by Mother Talzin, she said that she had heard that they could use their power to utterly eradicate anything in their path by using psychic energy. The psionic powers go beyond this as well, with them being able to use a power which they called Darksight. Darksight was an ability to create the future by looking at all the possible outcomes and choosing the one that suited their best use, though the outcome was not guaranteed. Part of its success was determined by the user's alignment with the dark. We learn about this when Luke Skywalker had to defend the New Republic from a prophet by the name of Lord Shadowspawn, who had studied under the Sorcerers of Rand. At number 3, we have what is known as the Star Weirds. I am not making that up. Picture this: you and your crew are flying through hyperspace on your way to exploration. A few Jedi are among you just for safety, Suddenly, from beyond your ship, you see a figure floating there in hyperspace. It is a tall and gaunt, impossibly bony figure. Its long skeletal arms, so prominent, with it holding its hands at its side, tipped with 3 long sharp talons on each of the hands. Its hair and clothes float up around it as it flies there. Upon seeing you, its dark sockets suddenly light up as it lets out a shriek that you can hear in your very mind. Fear grips your heart as your blood runs cold. Your hands white-knuckled the controls of the ship, but it's too late. These incorporeal banshees have already boarded your ship. In the back, you hear lightsabers ignite, and another shriek is let out, and then suddenly, you hear the lightsabers extinguish as the bodies of your Jedi compatriots fall to the floor, and all goes quiet. What I just described was a likely encounter with a Star Weird. These creatures are believed to be manifestations of the dark side, which often encounter broken down ships in empty space, and can even manifest into hyperspace. Upon being spotted, Star Weirds become enraged and release a loud, piercing, telepathic shriek that affects creatures within 20 meters. Due to the call's telepathic nature, it could be heard even in the vacuum of space. After issuing the shriek, the powerful creature would set upon its foe, shredding them with their sharp, taloned claws. A Star Weird would only choose one target and focus in on that individual. The creatures were noted for having a particular hatred for Force sensitives, who they would mindlessly concentrate on killing, even if they were other creatures that were present there. These beings were capable of using the Force and could use abilities such as Life Drain and even Force Lightning. What is most frightening about these creatures is that they aren't confined to the unknown regions, having made appearances in wild space and even the Outer Rim. Number 2, we have the Zonama Sakat. Zonama Sakat is one of the most curious occurrences in the entire Star Wars galaxy, as it is a phenomenon of a sentient, force-wielding planet. Zonama was the name of the planet, whereas Sakat was the name of the living intelligence. Originally, the planet was in the main part of the galaxy and was inhabited by the Nangaisi colonists. The planet was rumored to be home to one of the fastest ships, which led Anakin and Obi-Wan to explore the planet at one point in time. Later on, the planet would be attacked by the Yuuzhan Vong, although Sakat repelled their attacks and ultimately defeated the Force. During an invasion of the Empire, Sakat unveiled its secret, which was a hyperdrive that the Langeshi had built into the planet itself. Sakat then activated it and escaped into the unknown regions. Later, Luke Skywalker and his companions would seek out the planet to learn more about the Yuuzhan Vong. This was because Zonan was a seed that was separated from the original home planet of the Yuuzhan Vong, which brings us neatly to our last stop. The planet, however, is highly interesting because, again, it represents an intelligence as well as a living planet, and it was able to defeat one of the most powerful forces in the Star Wars galaxy, not only by being more powerful, but by also outwitting them, leading us again into our number 1. The number 1 most dangerous thing in the unknown regions of space is the Yuuzhan Vong. We have briefly covered the Vong a few times before on the channel. They are without a doubt one of the biggest threats to the entirety of the Star Wars galaxy, because they don't actually originate from the Star Wars galaxy. The Vong come from another galaxy entirely, and as such, they don't adhere to the rules of the Star Wars galaxy as we know it. Many Vong warriors are resistant or outright immune to many Force powers. They don't use technology, but rather use a strange technology consisting of living biots, creatures that were born and bred for their specific tasks. Their starships, weapons, gadgets, and even their armor is made from strange organic material. The Yuuzhan Vong themselves despise technology and see it as an abomination. As such, their ships' weapons are strong enough to penetrate and even eat away at most ships, including their deflector shields, giving the Vong an inherent advantage. In Star Wars Legends, the Yuuzhan Vong invasion was so impactful that it nearly completely destroyed the entire New Republic, as well as Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Academy. Notable pieces of technology included their feared Yamosks, which were called War Coordinators due to the fact that they served as biotic battle analysis computers, and had the capacity to coordinate Yuuzhan Vong forces to a frightening degree. Through their Villips, they had managed to create a communication system that rivaled the galactic holonet. Different breeds of such organisms were also capable of producing living light holograms, which the Yuzhong Vong had mastered for centuries. Similar to navigation computers, the Yuzhong Vong vessels possessed navibrains that were required to plot hyperspace jumps. On their ships were also weapons that could manipulate gravity to pull entire ships out of hyperspace. Yuzhong Vong personal weaponry included living serpentine weapons called amphistab that were able to alter their form, allowing their user to use them as a spear or a whip. Furthermore, they wore Vondum-Skur-Kinnick armor, which was capable of protecting them from weapon fire as well as even lightsaber strikes. There have been a small outpost of Yuzhong Vong in the unknown regions and legends, which the Chist's ancestry have made first contact with, determining that they were in fact hostile, with the Yuzhong Vong being the only creature that lies in the unknown regions of space, besides the likes of Abeloth, which is a force entity that rivaled the entirety of the Star Wars galaxy. So friends, what did you think of today's video, and would you like to learn more about the unknown regions of space? Also, out of everything that we listed, what did you find to be the most terrifying? As always, my friends, if you enjoyed this video, a like would help out the channel a great deal. As always, may the Force be with you, and I will hopefully see you soon. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. A little while ago we did a video detailing the 5 most dangerous things that lie hidden within the unknown regions of space. Wild space has been a topic that has been touched on very little in Star Wars canon and even in legends. Many things that lie within the unknown space remain a complete mystery. The unknown regions takes up nearly half of the Star Wars galaxy, which begs the question, why hasn't it been explored in the first place? Well, in today's video, we hope to analyze the star charts, run some numbers in our nav computer, and open some data cards in order to exactly answer why the unknown regions are exactly that. So unknown. And hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have a better idea exactly why all those that travel to the unknown regions of space never seem to return, as well as why the unknown regions are so dangerous, not because of the creatures that lie within the unknown regions, but because they're so dangerous to travel in the first place. So with introductions out of the way, let us begin. As you very well know, the main method of travel between systems is known as hyperspace in the Star Wars galaxy. The entirety of the Star Wars galaxy is connected by these things known as hyperspace lanes. For those of you that may not know or may need a refresher, hyperspace, despite being called colloquially nicknamed lightspeed or hyperspeed, isn't simply the ships going very, very fast. If this were the case, then ships would be constantly colliding with planets, moons, nebulas, and asteroids all of the time. Hyperspace itself is basically another dimension within space that ships can enter using hyperdrives. Hyperlanes are essentially interdimensional tubes that ships can travel through. And this is essentially how hyperspace lanes are pioneered and how travel happens in the Star Wars universe. The galaxy is connected and mapped by these hyperspace lanes, like one big nervous system. Well-traveled and commonly known hyperlanes are the most consistent and always stay open. However, in places like the deep core and in the unknown regions, these hyperspace lanes have not been well charted and are frequently subject to rapidly opening and closing, as well as simply shifting course at any given moment. This unpredictability makes hyperspace exploration into the unknown regions extremely dangerous. There are many theories as to why the unknown regions are so difficult and nigh impossible to explore. However, there is a firm reason, and not exactly a theory, but more a proper explanation. This reason comes in the form of an anomaly known as the Tangle. The Western Barrier, also known as the Hyperspace Tangle or the Tangle, was a chain of hyperspace anomalies that bisected to the galaxy west of the deep core and prevented exploration of the unknown regions for a millennia. The Tangle formed in the middle of the circumferential hyperspace barrier that enveloped the galaxy in a shell of hyperspace turbulence. In English, the entire Star Wars galaxy is enveloped in a barrier that prevents entry or exit from it. And this is the reason why no one who has ever tried to leave the galaxy has ever come back. The species known as the Yuzhong Vong had found a very specific weak point in the hyperspace barrier and somehow entered the galaxy that we know through there. It was believed by the pre-Republic scientists that the barrier was put in place by the ones of Mortis in order to defend the galaxy against extragalactic threats. Despite this barrier, it seems that the borders of it are somewhat permeable and that it can actually be manipulated, as we know that there are actually some planets in the unknown regions that can and have been consistently reached. Most prominently, the planet of Ilum, which Force-sensitive navigators can usually find very easily, as well as the planet of Camino, and not to mention Corellian traders who had been in touch with the Chiss for many years. The barrier was created by the Celestials to protect against threats such as the Yuuzhan Vong, the Rakatan Empire, and most notably, the entity known as Mangal. Everyone strap in, as we are about to dive into something quite horrifying, and the reason for the galactic barrier is about to make a lot of sense. If you want the more common answer though, it's because the hyperspace lanes are constantly in flux and constantly changing, as well as they're incredibly difficult to map out with the ship itself not being destroyed. Now though, let's talk about the Mangal. This creature was an amorphous gray slime that is believed to be extra-dimensional in origin. The slime can move quickly and shapeshift to look like simple creatures. It could split its body and travel separately in worm-like stakes, or even grow wings in order to fly. What makes the Mangal so deadly though, is what it could do to living organisms. The slime would attack its victims and enter the body, whether through the nose, mouth, or even pores if necessary. After which, it would proceed to feast on the organism from the inside, first digesting their brain and then the rest of its organs, leaving the victim a brittle husk. From here, it can completely dominate their body and use it to move around with enough dexterity and precision to even pilot a ship if necessary. When the body that was currently hosting it rots to the point of uselessness, it will find another host to inhabit, springing towards their new victim's face out of the services of the previous one. The more biological mass it consumed, the Mangal would grow in size all the while, its intention to spread itself across the galaxy until it completely dominates every plant, animal, and being, as it is worth mentioning that every separated part of the Mangal shares one single hive mind, and spreads very quickly and easily. At a long forgotten point in the past, it had taken over and rendered lifeless the planet of Mogfalo. Eons later, Mangal had spread across to the planet, even filling all of its former oceans and destroying all of its natural beauty, to the point that all that remained visible of the former world were barren continents and the remains of fossilized trees. Its body ran so far and deep across the planet that it ran in rivers across the continents and filled underground grottos. As a testament to its depraved mind, Mangal created a macabre decoration of a fleet of derelict ships forming a ring around the planet, their origins ranging from across millennia and thousands upon thousands of years. This was simply its decorations. It used its mind-controlled zombies to pilot the ships there. Over the course of its existence, Mangal staked its claim to thousands upon thousands of worlds, moons, and space stations, all throughout the unknown regions, and those from separate galaxies that had traveled there. For those of you who have read the Death Troopers novel, it was found that the properties of Mangal shared heavy similarities to the virus found on Project Blackwing. The slime was in fact very intelligent, and maybe even had a connection to the dark side, as Mangal delighted in torturing and consuming other beings. The creature actually seemed to thrive more on a being's suffering than on the sustenance that their bodies provided to it. Using its possession abilities, it would create torturous scenarios such as reuniting a grieving mother with the reanimated corpse of their youngling time and time again in order to create the most terrifying visions possible, in order to essentially make their prey more delicious. It would persuade other beings by playing with their emotions, persuading them into making deadly decisions such as opening a ship's airlock or deactivating perimeter fences. Anyone who spoke to it would find that it knew much of the ancient knowledge and could speak many ancient languages long forgotten. The creature knew of events such as the dawn of the Jedi Order and told tales of the Ones as well as the Rakatan Empire, tales from the very beginning of Star Wars lore. In my humble opinion, I would say that this being rivaled the threat level of Abeloth herself, and perhaps it is for the best that the unknown regions remained unexplored. I also believe that it is a major gift and a major reason why the ones of Mortis may have made the unknown regions so unexplorable and so dangerous to begin with the Mangal being among the greatest threats ever in the Star Wars mythos. So friends, what did you think of this video, and do you hope to get more information about the unknown regions as Star Wars canon continues to unfold? And what are your thoughts on the deadliness of Mangal? Drop a comment down below on what type of video and what aspect of Star Wars lore you would like to see explored next. And throughout the Star Wars mythos, we are treated to truly fantastical ideas and beings from across the galaxy, both equally wondrous and terrifying in nature. We know of the benevolent and helpful Jedi Force Ghosts, an ability discovered by Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn to transcend death and become one with the Force itself. Through sorcery and magic, a select few Sith have also been able to find their own way around death, as well as freeing their own evil spirits to continue their reign of terror. One of these Sith Lords being Freed Nad, whose tomb caused several great wars and the fall of Exar Kun to the dark side. But what if I told you that these spirits weren't the only ghosts of Star Wars lore? I'm sure you remember our video of the top 5 Sith powers, and remember the phantoms that Darth Vectivus knew how to summon. However, today we are speaking of spirits that can only be found in the deepest reaches of space. Not a mere smuggler's tale either, a very real threat that any spacefarer should be very cautious of. Welcome, curious travelers of the galaxy, to today's video, where we'll be giving you an essential guide to surviving an encounter with the Star Weirds. Of all of the Lovecraftian horrors in Star Wars, Star Weirds post one of the most significant threats. At least with Abeloth, we know that she is trapped and will only ever escape every other millennia. However, we find no such solace with the Star Weirds. Equating very similar to our world's Banshee folklore, these malevolent spirits haunt deep space and have been known to attack ships in or out of hyperspace. Sailors who have survived have described the Star Weirds as humanoid, impossibly tall, and severely gaunt and skeletal. They have wispy white hair that floats upward and ripped rags of clothes that drift behind them. They have long arms that end up with 3 sharp black talons. As horrible as this is, it only gets worse. Their faces have been described as having a wide mouth with jagged, rotting teeth and shiny eyes that which glow through the darkness of space itself. Though I highly recommend keeping your eyes to yourself for your own sake, as according to some accounts, if you look into the face of a Star Weird, you might see your own face staring back at you, but not in your normal state. Rather, your own face, decayed and rotten. Should these sinister specters board your ship, here's what you should expect. Firstly, I don't recommend trying to shoot or hit them with anything. Their bodies are incorporeal. No blunt force trauma will faze them at all, or any physical attack for that matter. You may not be able to hurt them physically, but they can certainly hurt you. With their long talons, they can attack and scratch at their prey. If you are frightened by this, I regretfully inform you that there is still more terror to come. Earlier, I compared them to our world's banshees. Reason being is that nothing traumatizes the sailors more than the Star Weird's haunting wail, a wail that can be heard even from the vacuum of space. These hyperspace terrors will enter your mind and torment you to insanity by telepathically screaming into your head. Is there any way to avoid them or get rid of them though? Well, the answer isn't exactly simple nor straightforward. First thing is first, avoid deep space at all costs. This is the easiest way to ensure your safety when concerning the Star Weirds. Secondly, if you must go through deep space, make sure of a couple of things. 1. That you have thoroughly inspected your ship to make sure that everything is working in order, and there is no chance that you will break down in the middle of space. And 2. Be sure that neither you nor any aboard your vessel is a Jedi or can touch the Force. This is very, very important. Yes, friends, the Star Weirds will dine on anything they come across. However, they seem to specifically hunt for Force wielders. Jedi or Sith alike, it doesn't matter to them, but they seem to just utterly despise the Jedi. It is said that if a Force user is present, that the Star Weird will hyper-focus on killing them, even if there are a plentiful amount of other living beings present. Perhaps it is the light side of the Force that draws them so close, as this seems to be the only thing that can actually harm them, the only thing that threatens them. Jedi using the light side can repel or kill the Star Weirds, because as we said, they are beings of the Force. Specifically, it is rumored that a Star Weird is constructed purely out of dark side energy. It is essentially the living dark side, as the dark side swirling in unknown space has presumably created this monstrosity. Many Jedi speculate that the Star Weirds are manifestations of the dark side, or spirits of the Sith that never made it to the afterlife, but no one can know for certain. What we do know is that they can certainly use the dark side, and themselves are Force sensitive. manifesting force powers such as life drain, force grip, and even in rare occurrences, force lightning. The third and final tip that we have for you is if all else fails, do not look at the Star Weirds. Star Weirds will manifest themselves to sailors having to repair their ship in space, or on ships in hyperspace. But if you know one is near, do not look at it. Even if they attempt to trick you with visions, do not stop to help stranded ships in space, for their fate is sealed when looked upon. This is when they become enraged, unleashing their horrible shriek, and begin to attack. It is important to remember the distinction between the Star Weirds and the Space Wraiths. Space Wraiths are a Force-sensitive parasite species which use their telepathy to dominate and feed off of the mind of Force sensitives. Space Wraiths have no corporeal body to speak of, as they exist in mere thought. If their host is killed while the Space Wraith is possessing them, the Wraith itself will die as well. Star Weirds, on the other hand, do not possess their prey and can only be destroyed with the Force. When they die, they disappear and leave no trace of themselves behind. Very little is known in regard to their history. According to Master Wellett's Codex files, they can be found in Star Wars: The Old Republic, during the first war fought between the reconstructed Sith Empire and the Galactic Republic. The Star Weird Queen was a member of the species that attacked many members of the Jedi Council, and even a Padawan named Zerender. This group, fortunately, was saved by Master Wylett. After this happened, Master Wylett was captured by the Sith Empire. It is not known what happened to the Star Weird Queen, however, but we do know that she was not killed. And this is the only recorded event of the Star Weird Queen presenting herself to anybody. But just for a moment, I would like to talk about the implications of the existence of such a creature and a queen of the Star Weirds. If the Star Weirds have a queen, then they may operate on some sort of spiritual hierarchy. The Star Weird Queen was regarded as a legendary being, again with only one confirmed appearance of her. Other than this, she exists purely in legends, but it is important to note that she did in fact side with the Sith purely against the Jedi. In terms of power, the Star Weird Queen may lie somewhere between such as figures like Darth Sidious and maybe even the ones of Mortis as a Force-based entity, a being potentially older than the ones of Mortis, older than Abeloth. She could possibly hold immense power from a region unknown to even those that have traveled deep into unknown space. It is clear that she is ancient and has existed presumably before any known event in Star Wars mythos. No other appearances of the Queen have ever been recorded in history since that fateful day. But anyway, Acolytes, what did you think of today's story? And do you think that it would be interesting to have a peek in on the spiritual battle of the Jedi's Force Ghosts and the Star Weirds, or maybe even some Sith spirits? Do you think that Star Weirds will ever make an appearance in Star Wars canon? If so, comment below your thoughts. And now, my wary spacefarers, be warned and beware of the dangers that lie out within deep space. Normally, I would say, may the Force be with you, but when concerning the Star Weirds, that might spell your certain doom.